Peace and blessings. Welcome back to the channel once again, where we talk all things health and healing from a holistic perspective. And today will be no different. Today we're going to talk about how do we fix Candida yeast overgrowth in the body. Okay. Now, you may be experiencing Candida in many ways. Okay. But most people, when they think about Candida or yeast overgrowth, they think about a vaginal yeast infection. But both men and women can have yeast infections, and they're not always in the genital area, okay? You can have a yeast infection between your toes, and we call it athlete's feet. You can have it in the bed of your toenail, okay, and it becomes brown blackish sometimes. That's also a fungal infection, okay? You can have it in the groin area, and we call it the jock itch. You also could have it orally in the mouth, and we call that oral thrush. Okay, so it's really important to know that Candida can appear in many parts of the body and have many different symptoms. What's also really important to know and understand is that Candida is a systemic issue. It's not local, meaning if you got a fungal infection in the bed of your toenails, it probably means that you got yeast all over the body, okay? Even though it's not showing up everywhere over the body. So that's really important. So you can treat it locally, as with, I've done a video on if you have a black or brown toenail, go check that video out. It's a really great video, and I give you the solution for it. Now you can treat it locally, but the unfortunate thing is that if you still got yeast in your body, because that's already a general weakness, the infection is coming back, okay? That's the big point that I want you to understand before we get into the solutions and things of that nature. You have to treat it systemically in the body, okay? And so you got to start where it starts, okay? Which we'll get to in a second. But what's really important, I know a lot of people wanted me to talk about oral thrush or Candida overgrowth on the tongue. When you see a lot of people who have these white coated tongues, especially in the morning. Now, I had one person ask me, well, can you use a tongue scraper? Now, I have a tongue scraper. This is the one I use, okay? Now, what I will tell you is that that tongue scraper does have some function, but it does not get rid of yeast on your tongue, okay? It scrapes it off, but it does not get rid of it. It's effective for removing food from the tongue, cleaning the tongue, which is a good thing. But it does not get rid of yeast. The yeast will grow right back. And I wanted to make that point because I know a lot of people ask me about the tongue scrapers, okay? Now that I've said that, what's important to know is that there are over 31 different species of Candida, okay? 31. But about 5 of them account for 92% of all infections, okay? With the most common being Candida albicans, okay? Also, what's important to understand is that, yes, there are medications out there. There are many medications and that are being used for all of the various fungal infections that I just spoke about. But what's really important to understand is that they do not address the issue, which is what we're about to get into. And if you don't address the issue, this is why when people take these prescriptions, often they have a repeat or a reoccurrence, is because you didn't address the issue, okay? And in many cases, as we know, all medications have side effects, and some of the side effects could actually lead to you having a reoccurring infection. So I think that's a really, really important, understanding to have, because I know that the symptoms can be very frustrating and you're wanting to get away from those symptoms. But I also think it's important to understand that it is not a long-term solution, okay? Now, let's start with what are some of the symptoms of a Candida overgrowth. And the reason why I'm calling it an overgrowth is because at very minuscule or small levels, you're going to have some levels of bacteria, even viruses, and even fungus inside of us, okay? If you were to look at our cells, our cellular makeup, and look at it by the numbers, we are 90% pathogen cells, microbes, not human cells. We're only about 10% human cells. So we're mostly made of bacteria, fungus, viruses, and etc. Okay? But the issue is that the balance, okay, is where the balance, and specifically that balance inside of the gut or the microbiome, okay? When the bad bacteria or bad fungus tend to overgrow, that's when you have a problem. So what you're trying to do is keep the balance, and the balance is always tilted in the favor of the quote unquote good bacteria, good fungus, etc. But what happens is with the lifestyle changes that we've had over the last 30, 40 years, and all of the things that I'm about to mention in just a second, it will help you understand how we throw things out of balance, okay? And create a lot of the symptoms that are associated with Candida overgrowth. So symptom number one, systemic inflammation. That's inflammation all over your body. So you're gonna feel inflamed in your feet, in your joints, in your lower back, in your neck. You're gonna feel inflamed all over the body. So it won't be inflammation just in one knee. It'll be inflammation all over the body. And that inflammation sometimes will get even worse when you eat some of the foods that I'm going to talk about in just a second. Okay. Another typical symptoms are mouth sores. Okay. Canker sores. All right. That's also a sign of Candida overgrowth as well too. Another sign and symptom is chronic fatigue or fatigue, being tired all the time. And it's because your immune system is constantly responding to this low-grade infection of a Candida overgrowth. And this is what's keeping you tired, but this is also what's inflaming your body as well too. All right. Also headaches. Okay. If you have those phantom headaches, you don't know where they come from. Okay. Or sometimes, let's say, for instance, when you have a sugar craving or you're fasting and you don't eat and you get a headache, it could be because the yeast is screaming. Okay. All right, we'll talk about those critter cravings in just a second. Also, brain fog, ADD symptoms, okay? A lot of people believe that they're suffering from ADD, and we can call it brain fog as well too. And a lot of people's real issue is that they have a Candida overgrowth, a fungal overgrowth in their body, okay? Candida can literally hijack your brain, okay? And we can go in, I could do a whole video over how Candida hijacks a system, hijacks your brain. But it's really important to know if all of a sudden you develop this brain fog where you're just in a cloud, or ADD symptoms where you're having problems focusing, it could be because of a Candida overgrowth, okay? Also, seasonal allergies. If you're one of those people who never really had seasonal allergies, and all of a sudden you started to develop them later on in life, and they're really, really bad around, spring, things of that nature, it could be because of a Candida overgrowth, okay? And the reason why is because, it's tied to our immune system, but also histamines as well too, okay? Also, digestive issues are another symptoms. So bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, these are also symptoms as well too, okay? Because again, the Candida starts in your gut. The overgrowth starts in your gut and spreads out to the rest of your body. Critter cravings, okay? The reason why I call them critter cravings is because if you've ever seen like these scary movies, you notice that a lot of them have like aliens that crawl in your body and take over your brain and have you doing what they want to do. Well, that's exactly what a fungus like Candida does. It hijacks you and tells you to eat what it wants you to eat because it feeds the Candida and makes it grow. Okay, so critter cravings. And then also skin, nail infections as well too. If you're constantly getting those type of infections, could be a sign of Candida overgrowth. Okay, so those are just a few of the symptoms. Okay, I think that's really important to kind of start with because you may be experiencing several of these symptoms all at once, okay? So let's get into what are the causes. What's causing the Candida to overgrowth in the first place? Well, the first thing is you're feeding the Candida, making it grow, and you're feeding it primarily with sugar, okay? I know that every time we get on here, I'm talking about sugar, but I'll tell you, our sugar consumption has grown exponentially. Whereas in the 1850s, the average person was consuming around 4 to 5 pounds of sugar every year. And today we're consuming 152 pounds of sugar every year annually, individually. So you can see how that stark difference, okay? That stark difference of, that sugar consumption is a huge reason why we're where we're at. Okay, so getting rid of the added sugars and things of that nature is going to be critical. We do not need added sugar at all in our body, and added sugar is not equivalent with the sugar that is in fruit. Let me make that very clear. The natural sugar that is in fruit is very different from the sugar that is added to something, that is taken out of something. Okay, number two, refined carbohydrates. And because refined carbohydrates like breads, pastas, pizzas, etc., when you consume them, they turn into sugar and they feed the Candida or yeast, which is why you love bread so much. Okay, it's not that you just have a sweet tooth, you also have a bread tooth as well too, a carbohydrate tooth. Okay, number three, starches. Starches also feed yeast as well too. All right. Number four, uncontrolled diabetes. So if you're one of those people who have issues with regulating your blood sugars, this will definitely feed yeast in the body. Okay. So another huge reason why you want to control your blood sugars by controlling the amount of sugar you consume, the refined carbohydrates, the starches, the sugary beverages, etc. Okay. And these zero drinks count as added sugar. Okay. Really important. All right. People like to throw that one out. Number five, gut dysbiosis. Gut dysbiosis is when you have a dysfunctional microbiome. Okay. And you have a dysfunctional microbiome due to a lot of things that is in a whole nother video, but it could be your consumption of gluten and those refined carbohydrates that I talked about, processed foods, not enough good bacteria, not eating enough fiber. The list goes on and on. But those are the primary offenders of the gut. All right. Number six, stress. Stress because it compromises our immune system. Okay. And it's our immune system that is designed to fight against this candida, this fungus, this virus, this bacteria, etc. Okay. So the more we stress, the more we suppress our immune system. Okay. And the more we suppress our immune system, the more it allows this overgrowth of candida to get even bigger. Okay. So stressing, even low grade stress. Okay. And there's different types of stress. There's good stress like exercise. Okay. Challenging ourselves to achieve a goal. Then there's bad stress like worrying about something that doesn't matter or something that you can't change. Okay. That's the type of stress that compromises your immune system. Okay. Number seven, antibiotics. Okay. Antibiotics kill the bacteria, the bad bacteria, but they also kill the good bacteria, and they also kill the things that fight against candida growing. Okay. So they kill the good bacteria, but they also kill they kill the bad bacteria, but they also kill the good bacteria that actually produces its own natural antibiotics. Okay. This is what also allows the fungus to grow, the candida to overgrow in the system as well too. Steroids. So if you're on steroids, we all know that steroids are immune suppressors. They will suppress the immune system. Okay. And when they suppress the immune system, this is what allows any pathogen to grow, including candida. Okay. Hugely important. Number nine, and this is a shocker to a lot of women when I mention this, but birth control. Birth control, because it affects the gut microbiome. Okay. And it could create gut dysbiosis. And this is what can lead to a candida overgrowth in the body. And when the candida overgrows in the gut, it can end up creating symptoms anywhere in the body. And again, we can call that a toenail fungus. We can call that, candida on the tongue. We can call that a jock itch. We can call that athlete's foot. It doesn't matter what it is. Okay. It typically starts in the gut and it goes out into the body and wreaks havoc. Because again, it's a systemic issue. Okay. And then those are the causes. Let's get into some of the solutions, okay? Now, I'm gonna give you a 4-step approach to this. Remove, you gotta get rid of the things that are causing the issues in the first place. Whether that be the antibiotics or whatever it is you're taking, the birth control, etc. Again, you need to speak to your doctor about this because not all medications can be abruptly stopped, okay? So remove the starches, the refined carbohydrates, the sugars, the added sugars, okay? Remove. Replace those with things that are actually good for the gut, that are high in fiber, that feed the good bacteria in the gut that have prebiotics in them, okay? So replace. The third R is revenge. You gotta wage war on this Candida, okay? And we can do that in a natural way, which I'll give you a few ways to do that in just a second. And then once you have your revenge, now it's time to restore, okay? And we restore with balance in the diet, diversity, etc., exercise, sunlight, correcting deficiencies, okay? So let me give you a few solutions. The first thing is you want to starve, okay? Removing is the starving. You want to starve the yeast, and you starve it by not giving it those added sugars, the yeast, the starch, okay? First things first, start there. Second thing is you could use a couple of different herbs, okay? Those couple of different herbs are tea tree oil, okay? Let's say if you have a toenail fungus. Some of my favorite herbs to use are oregano, is antifungal, Paul Diaco, okay, antifungal, black walnut hull, antifungal, okay. Also oil pulling. So let's say, for instance, you had, the Candida tongue, that white coating on the tongue. You could oil pull and add some of these herbs to the oil that you're using, okay? Now, for most of you, you know that I have a parasite Candida cleanse, okay? This is what the Candida is in my parasite Candida cleanse, okay? So it not only gets rid of the parasites, it gets rid of the Candida as well too. And as I mentioned, the Paul Diarco, the black walnut hull, the oregano, they're all inside of this parasite Candida cleanse, okay? And that's the really cool thing. So when you get my detox, you get the parasite Candida cleanse to take care of the parasites and the yeast or the Candida, but you also get the Tommy Detox as well to flush everything out of the gut. Because here's the thing, once you kill the yeast, it's got to be flushed out the body. Okay, certain things could be reactivated after they're killed in the body if they stay in the body. Okay, and so that's why it's a complete system. That's why I call it a full body detox, because you got to open up these elimination pathways. See, it's one thing to say, I'm going to use a herb or a food to inoculate something, but it's a whole nother thing to say, I'm going to use food and herbs to inoculate something and then open up the proper elimination channel to get it out of the body as well too. So I hope this has been helpful in terms of like helping you understand how you could deal with that yeast or Candida problem. If you have not seen my video on, the brown toenail, that one will be very useful for you. And if you have not seen my video on sugar and how deadly it could be to our health, you definitely need to go watch that one as well too. So I hope you have enjoyed this. Please hit that subscribe button if you have not already. I'm noticing that the vast majority of people who are consuming my content have not hit that subscriber button. So I need you to hit that subscriber button and share this. We got to make this as a grassroots effort in sharing this type of information, okay? Because this isn't the kind of information, that they teach us when we go to, school as healthcare professionals, okay? So we're not able to share it with you because we're not taught it. So make sure you make this a sharing is caring type of effort by sharing this with somebody you love. And until the next time, peace and blessings and Godspeed.